Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, based on where you are. Welcome back to another episode of the Equity Market Update. What investors must know this week with
Joseph DiVirgilio.
and Irfan Khan.
Joseph DiVirgilio, it's me. For those who don't know who I am, I'm a hedge fund manager who has been credited for launching the very first sustainability-focused hedge fund on Wall Street back in 2004. And I ranked top 10 best performing fund managers long short equity space worldwide by Bloomberg in a pool of 14,000 funds, long short equity funds. I ranked top 10 between the years 2011 and 2014, I think it was.
Great. Well, and I'm an investor and partner in crime of Joseph's.
We're going to do some damage here. We're trying to do some damage at least.
We have a few things to talk about for sure this week.
Yeah. What's the statistic of the week? Because we're going to get to all the tariffs and everything else, economic data and S&P 500, whatever.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
But what's the statistic of the week, Irfan?
Yeah. All right, it's called lifetime performance. So only 47.7% of all stocks generated a lifetime return that even matched a 1-month treasury bill.
And that's why diversification is very important.
You want to tell us a little bit more about it?
Well, it means that basically only 47.7% of stocks generated just as much as or matched what a treasury bill, monthly treasury bill returns. So that's why diversification is very important because you don't know whether you're going to have the right stocks in your portfolio at any given time. Buying an index can assure you that you at least match the returns of the index at the end of the year. And given that say take the S&P 500, for example, which has a average annual return of about between 10 and 12%, it has largely beaten treasury bonds. So obviously you want to be diversified and preferably in an index so that this way you can at least outperform treasury bills.
Because otherwise this means that if you were to just randomly pick any stock, you would have less than 1 in 2 of a chance of picking something that performs
even less,
even treasury bills, 1 month treasury bills.
Yeah, even less, because I mean, look, just think of it this way. I think I gave this statistic a month or so ago when I think we said that only 2% of fund managers can beat their benchmark by 3 years in a row. So that's why you can't really rely on your stock picking, because you could be as good as you want to be in the stock picking process. But things happen and you'll never know. You'll never see it coming. You are convinced, you have your best conviction in your portfolio, you have a long-term view, solid company, something happens. And it always does. Always does. So look at the chaos that is going on, with the geopolitical space. So that alone is, forcing fund managers, portfolio managers to really chase returns whatever they can, because the market is constantly shifting. There's no more of a natural equilibrium of things. Ever since Trump came back to office again, it's like like things are just too much chaos. The geopolitical situation today is chaotic at best. I mean, Trump came into power for the second time, and what did he do? He basically once again tried to blow up decades, a century of carefully crafted trade deals and agreements, and so there was an equilibrium that took decades to put together. And here he is in 1 year. He's just putting everybody's life, he turned everybody's life in a roller coaster ride. So that's really what's going on.
The Supreme Court came about.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. But first, let's go back. Let's go to the S&P 500, which ended the week with a 1.1% gain after a two-week losing streak. And the only reason why I think we actually closed up, not the only reason, it was a really good rebound on Friday. Again, this is the third Friday in a row that we get a big rebound, and this was due to the SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, which basically said that Trump's tariffs were illegal, which made the market rally a bit on Friday. But then came the question on how is the U.S. government going to pay back those who actually have paid $150 billion in tariffs. So now Trump always went out there saying, we're taking in trillions of dollars. It's 150 billion in last year. The problem is how are we going to reimburse those people? And I gotta give it to Neil Katyal. Okay, Neil Katyal, he's a former Solicitor General at the Department of Justice. He is the one that represented the 80 or 90 somewhat companies that sued the government because of the tariffs, and he had argued plenty of times in front of the Supreme Court and never lost. And yet again, Neil Katyal has brought, has scored one more time with the Supreme Court. Basically, he won on behalf of the companies that sued the Trump administration for the tariffs. Mm-hmm. And so he won. And Neil Katyal, you should Google him. He's a genius. He's a legal genius.
For the benefit of our audience, how do you spell Neil Katyal?
So Neil, Niel, Katyal, Kytal, I think. I think that's his name.
Okay.
I actually met him once, years ago, 2018 or 19 or something like that. Mm-hmm. But he's a legal genius. I like him. Does his rounds, he used to do his rounds on liberal media. And I liked him because I would always, every time he would say something, it would actually come to fruition. Just like Andrew Weissman, he was the former top legal counsel at the FBI. Every time Neil Katyal says something or Andrew Weissman says something, it's just you take it to the bank, it's going to happen. I mean, they just know their stuff very, very well. Yeah, that's. So just before we get to the tariff situation, the economic data. The GDP was much below expectations. Yeah, I'm still here. You disappeared for a second, but you're back.
My internet connection, I saw it. Are you still recording?
Yeah, we're still recording.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah, why? What's wrong? Something wrong?
My internet connection was giving trouble.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. You're good. Okay. Don't worry. Yeah. You're good. So I was saying GDP was much more disappointing than expected. Also price pressure still with the PCE, which came in a little hotter than expected. So everybody expects now that inflation is going to get a little more aggressive this year, meaning people believe that economists believe that inflation is going to be more sticky than it was in the last year, because of course the front loading of companies that have bought prior to tariffs put into place. So they brought in goods from abroad. And of course, that helped the numbers last year. But this year, it looks like it's going to be a different story. Now, we're going to go straight into tariffs because now the Supreme Court had ruled that they were illegal. Trump vowed to find different legal means to make them go, but with a decree or an executive order, he can place some tariffs for 150 days, I think. So He said he's going to put tariffs on again, 10, 15% universally or all over the world.
I think that's from a law from dating back to 1977, something like that,
No,
right?
that was one law that I forgot the name of the law that was struck down by the Supreme Court. He's pulling out another one out of the hat to try and see if he can pass. But the utter ignorance of this president, it's incredible. Forget that he's flopped on the Epstein situation where he's mentioned over 1,200,000 times. And okay, that has cratered his polling numbers, but affordability is the number one issue for Americans. And he has fallen much harder in the polls because of the affordability issue. That is very largely in part by his tariffs, because like I mentioned to you before, if we didn't have tariffs, the inflation rate would be probably between 1.7, 1.8, and not 3. And so now that doesn't mean that just because, we've told our public in the past that just because inflation goes down, it doesn't mean that prices go down. It just means that prices will accelerate at a slower rate. That's it. Yeah. That's the end of the story. But so he looks at his polling numbers. They're the worst of any president in history. And he gets struck down by the Supreme Court, and then he comes out and says, "I'm going to find a different way to be more unpopular, and to make Americans starve more because they can make it to the end of the month." I mean, the most had I been president, which I'm not even nearly qualified to be president, and if I'm not qualified, I can only imagine how the hell is this freaking guy qualified? Because let me tell you this. Had it been anybody else, they would have just said, okay, the Supreme Court has ruled against us. We'll go back and analyze the situation and just quietly let it die. Don't bring up the tariffs anymore because it's a failed policy. People don't like it. You're facing a train wreck in the midterm elections in November. Just let it die quietly. Forget about it. No, he goes on and doubles down instead of, just letting it die and give some relief to the American people. I don't get it.
Because after all, let's remember that most of the tariffs, I think I read that about 90% of the overall tariffs
were absorbed by Americans.
Were absorbed by American consumers.
Yeah. And as much as you've got Scott Bessent, which is other idiot, and Kevin Hassett, that's another brain dead guy, going out there vomiting BS economic policies and trying to make people believe that what they're doing it's right and it's just when it really isn't. It's the opposite of what every mainstream economist believes. Tariffs are not paid by the freaking countries that are shipping the merchandise over. Americans pay for it. I mean, he's been debunked. These guys have been debunked, and yet they continue pressing the same stupid points that make no sense. I mean, Americans are not stupid. I mean, okay, they elected Trump, so at some point you got to figure. But they're now starting to realize that they made a big mistake, massive mistake, because those who are getting hurt the most are his base, farmers and all these people who thought that that Trump would end their poverty. I mean, in what world do they live?
I heard how that kind of story played out in other countries around the world. So yeah.
Now this other peace board for Gaza. Yeah, I mean, do you realize what he's doing? Peace board. Everything is peace now. When Putin arrived from Russia to Alaska, the message in the back said the word peace. He's dying for the Nobel Peace Prize. He wants it so bad that what did he do? He's so desperate that he basically gathered all the dictators in the world and said, hey, let's come up with a peace board for Gaza. Milei of Argentina, Netanyahu.
Small thing, he did not involve those who it actually affects.
That's the point, of course. And Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, made this big presentation in Davos. And instead of worrying about the people of Palestine And Gaza, no, we're just going to build a beautiful resort for everybody to enjoy. Investors are going to come in.
Anyway, let's slow down, Joe. Slow down, Joe. Let's get back to stock of the week. Oh, hang on. Before we go to the stock of the week, I actually wanted to go back a little bit on the weekly recap of the S&P 500. Now, my question to you is, we are almost 2 months into the year.
Sorry.
The stock market, the S&P 500 hasn't really grown much.
Right.
What
Well,
can we tell our listeners, our followers?
To be careful, because there's one thing happening that, like I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago. There are a number of asset managers in Europe and abroad and everywhere else that are shying away from U.S. equities and U.S. companies. So you had the Danish pension fund, the National Pension Fund, which decided to liquidate a couple $100 million worth of their treasury holdings, U.S. treasury holdings. Amundi, which has close to 4 trillion euros of assets under management, the largest money manager in Europe, has declared that they're going to be stepping away from U.S. equities. And there's this rotation. There's this crazy rotation in the U.S. equities, trying to find the next spot where you can make a buck. But the truth is, under the underlying problem is that there are non-U.S. entities that are just slowly chipping away from the U.S. holdings, because Trump has made it impossible for you to predict anything. And so while the global trade order is being rearranged, if you looked at Canada and Europe and South America, China and Canada and Australia, they're basically isolating the United States. And it's becoming increasingly clear to me that U.S. leadership, it's over. I mean, Marco Rubio came here.
So we're going towards a multipolar world, is it?
Marco Rubio came to Germany. Went to Germany, to Munich, and he basically talked about how Europe is still really good friends with the United States, and that we just want you to arm yourselves more because we will be there. Maybe I'm not sure, but arm yourselves. I'm not sure we'll be there for you, but maybe we will. We're still friends. And then what does he do? The first thing he does when he leaves Munich, he goes to freaking Hungary and pledges to Orban, that other idiot, that Trump, you have his full support, and if you need any cash, we want you to be reelected. Then he went to Czech Republic, whatever the hell it is. I mean, to me, you come to Europe and then you say this, and then you go to those countries that are against Europe and support them. So there's two very clear contradictions here. He goes to Europe and he says, we're your friends, maybe we'll be there for you now, just make sure that you increase your defense spending. And then he goes to the dictators of Hungary and Czech Republic, or what is it, Slovakia? I forgot which one. And he's there cozying up with the dictators of those two countries, those right wing political exponents, if you will. But they and then you find out that the Trump administration is actually financing right wing think tanks in Europe. So to me, it's clear that they're trying to, put a wedge into everybody and everyone, and this is nothing but catering to Putin again. So I don't know what's going to happen in the next year, or at least until November. But I can tell you this: he's going to try everything to sabotage the elections. That's for sure. He did it when he got clearly beaten up by Biden in 2020. Now that he clearly, actually, people, I remember back then when people would say, how did Biden, win the elections by mainly staying in a basement? Well, there was COVID, of course. But now it's really clear that the Republican Party has gotten completely destroyed. They're basically they're right-wing influencers. What was his name? Some guy with a Spanish last name or something. He just really was all for Trump, and he just tell him to go F himself on one of his
Was
podcasts.
that Nick Fuentes?
That's it. Nick Fuentes. That's right. So I mean,
He's not around anymore. He's not.
like I saw some clips of these weirdos. They're subhumans. They're just subhuman. I mean, how? I don't even want to get into this. It just disgusts me.
Yeah, let's stick to financial stuff, shall we?
Yeah. Stock of the week.
Planet Labs.
Planet Labs. Ticker PL. Great company. They are the ones that were responsible for telling the world that that Russia had amassed military power on the border of Ukraine back in 2022.
Okay.
Because they have one of the largest satellite network orbiting Earth right now. They cater to the educational, defense, meteorological, and environmental platforms with their satellites. They gather a lot of really good data, and they are the ones who map Google Maps, and the company is owned, or the 10% of the company is in the hands of Alphabet, which is the owner of Google. So, good company in its infancy. I think it's a $3 billion market cap. Not profitable yet, but Google has 10% of the company. That's fine. That's good for me. So it's good for them. It's good for me. Love their business plan. I think that satellites will play an increasing role in our lives. Look at Starlink. That's Musk's baby, and he's basically launched thousands of satellites and to provide internet service and mobile service to areas of the earth that cannot be serviced. And so Planet Labs is right next to that. I like them very much. I think they're cheap. There's momentum, and they're doing the right thing. They're doing what's right. I looked at their business plan. I looked at their balance sheet. Balance sheet is
let's
not
not
bad at all.
forget to add our usual caveat.
Yes, please do not take my investment decisions as a reason for you to buy them. So always consult with an investment advisor. Like we said last week.
Investment advisor.
Yeah.
Certified.
Yeah, somebody who. What we said last week, that Peter Lynch famously said once that people put more research time into a $500 washing machine, and then they hear somebody mention a stock on the bus, and they go buy it at home for 20 grand. So don't ever
hardly disagree with that.
It's impossible to disagree with it because people do that all the time. So when you get into a taxi and the taxi driver starts talking to you about Bitcoin, and okay, this is now it's the time to sell, right? Well, I never bought Bitcoin, so let's be clear. I don't believe in cryptocurrency, and so so don't construe my liking of a stock as a reason for you to buy. This is something that you need to decide with your financial advisor.
You can never be said too many times.
No, I agree. It's so important. It's so important.
Right then. So I guess we can wrap up this episode. I would say this time we made it a little bit longer because you obviously have to get it out of your chest. You obviously have to get a few things out of your chest,
It's
right?
incredible. It's because you just the volatility never ends because of this brain dead. It's just very stressful. We're taking in trillions of dollars.
Oh my goodness, Joe. Oh my goodness. Let's wait and see what happens, okay? I mean, obviously, everybody has their own opinions. So
of course. But listen,
we should obviously be respectful of that as well.
Oh, no, of course. But that's my opinion and no one else's. So we wish everybody a good weekend, a great Sunday.
Yeah.
And we'll speak next week.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully we're still here. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and
subscribe.
and subscribe to our channel. It will help us a lot. We would be really, really appreciative if you did that. Thank you very much.
Take
And
care.
we'll speak Sunday, or we'll see
Bye.
each other Sunday. Bye.